Hello, in this video we're going to learn how to create a new company from scratch. So up until now we've been accessing data files of companies that already exist, and now we're going to create one from scratch. We're going to use a process called the Easy Step Interview that QuickBooks has available within the program. So from the home screen or the main screen when we come into QuickBooks, we're going to choose the option to create a new company. And when we do that, then this Express Start program opens. It's within QuickBooks. It allows us to walk through on a step-by-step basis. If we choose the Detailed Start, it allows us to fine-tune the company file to set it up specifically for our needs. The other option is that if you already had an existing company that you wanted to base your new one on, then you could use that to create. But we're going to start from the Detailed Start, so you just click on that button and it takes you now to your company information screen. So you type your company name. So we're using Fanshawe Consulting Services. And when you press tab, you'll see that the legal name is automatically populated. If the legal name for your company is different, you can just click into the text box and change it there. And then you need a street address and your city. Province is important because your tax records, that information will be set up according to provincial laws and regulations. Put your postal code in. Country is Canada. You can put in a phone number, fax, and your email address. Website if you know it. These of course are fictitious because we're setting up a fictitious company. And then once you've filled in all of the data on your screen, you click Next. The next screen that populates is called the industry screen. So QuickBooks gives you a whole lot of different types of industries to choose from. Each of the industries would have, just some different requirements in terms of taxes and tax tables and payroll and that kind of stuff. So it's important to choose the kind of company that you're creating so that QuickBooks will set up the appropriate data files. We're going to scroll down and we're going to choose a professional consulting business from the list because that's the type of business that we're creating at this point, and then we just click Next. And then QuickBooks wants to know how your company is organized legally. So legally you would have set it up in one of these ways, whether it's a partnership or a corporation, nonprofit, sole proprietor, charity. So there's different kinds of companies. Again, important for QuickBooks to know so that it creates the appropriate files. We're a sole proprietorship, so we'll click there and then click on Next to go to the next screen. And we have to choose the first month of the fiscal year. Some companies' fiscal years run from April to March. In our case, we're going to choose January. So you just make sure the proper month is chosen from the pick list there and then click Next because January will be our start. The next screen asks you to set up an administrator password. It is optional. However, if you're on the job, it's highly recommended that you set a password on your QuickBooks file so that you can limit who has access to it. And so only those people who have the password can get in to make changes or add information, and so then the integrity of your company files remains intact. For our purposes though, we're not going to use a password, so we can just click Next to bypass it. QuickBooks is now ready to create the company file, needs us to tell it where we want to store the file. So then when we click Next, it's going to take us to the screen that will allow us to navigate to the file that we want to go to. Notice the file name already drops in. It's picked up our company name, and notice the extension is QBW for a QuickBooks working file. So then you navigate to your computer and choose the location. You're likely on your USB stick. I'm just going to go to my desktop because that's where I put my folder for Fanshawe Consulting. There's my data file, and then I'm just going to click Save. So I'm telling QuickBooks where I want to save my company file. You need to do the same so that it saves to your memory stick. And we get the typical warning because we're in a learning environment that the tax table is out of date. That's fine. We just click on OK, and it continues to create the company file. And now QuickBooks is ready to customize the data file for our particular company. So it's going to ask a series of questions relating specifically to the type of business that we are. So we'll just click next to carry on. So what do we sell in our case? We're going to sell services only. Many businesses do both, services and products. Some companies only sell products. In our case, it's services only, and then we click next. And then QuickBooks needs to know if we charge sales tax, and in our case we do. And so because we do, we've been given a sales tax number or business number from the government. It's a 9-digit number, so we're just going to enter 9 digits. And then the RT number is a 4-digit number, so we'll just enter that in there. If we had a PST number, we would put that in. Those numbers are provided by the government when we set up our business, when we register our business actually. And then we click next. We'll get a message that's saying the business number is not valid. We know that, but we're going to continue anyway because we are setting up a fictitious company. So then there's a series of questions. Do you want to create estimates for our business? We're not going to be estimating the cost of work ahead of it, so we won't be creating estimates in QuickBooks. So we'll choose no and then click next. Statements though, billing statements that we send to customers, is something that we want to be able to use. So we want to make sure that yes is chosen before we move forward, and then we click next. Same with invoices. We want to be able to send invoices out so that we can collect our funds and receive invoices as well. So yes, we're going to use invoices in our business, and then click next. Progress invoicing is a little different. Our business isn't going to need it, but there's a couple of examples listed where you can invoice at different points in the project. A contractor would also do that if they were building a house for you, for instance. You'd put some down, you'd pay at different intervals throughout the project. Our case, we don't need progress invoicing, so we click no and then click next. Alright, so QuickBooks wants to know, how do we want to manage the bills that we owe? Do we want to keep track? And yes, most definitely. We want to know the vendors that we owe money to. We want to know how much money we owe, and we want to be reminded when those bills are due so that we can take advantage of any discounts that are provided if we pay on time. So we'll make sure yes is chosen, and then we click yes. It says, do you print checks? Lots of people do with QuickBooks. They use that option so that when they're paying bills, they can just automatically click the button that says go ahead and print the check, and then they can put that in an envelope and mail it off all in the same step. Our case, we're not going to print checks, so we'll choose the final option and then click next. Okay, so QuickBooks wants to know about tracking time. Lawyers, for instance, would track time because they bill according to the amount of time that they've spent on their projects. We're not going to use that feature, so we're going to click on no and then click next again. QuickBooks needs to know if we have employees, because if we do, then QuickBooks will set up all of the employee data that we need in order to produce payrolls and stuff. So we're going to say yes, we do have employees, and then we'll click next. QuickBooks needs to know if we're tracking multiple currencies in QuickBooks. So are we going to be dealing in currency other than Canadian? In our case, no. So we make sure no is chosen, and then we click next. Now QuickBooks is going to tell us what it suggests as our chart of accounts. So it's taken all of the information that we've given it to date, and it's creating a chart of accounts, a list of all of the accounts that it thinks we're going to need for our particular business. And then before that, we need to decide on a starting date, how we want to categorize our business and income. And also, as we progress through these screens, you can see over on the left our interview progress. So you can see that we're just about done this particular Easy Step interview. So let's click Next. Starting date. So ours is going to be the beginning of this fiscal year. You could use today's date. In this case, it's March 10th, 2015. If our fiscal year, like we set earlier, is the January 1st, and we use today as the first day for QuickBooks, we may want to go in and input any of the historical data that happened prior to this date, so that at the end of the year we have a complete set of financial information for the whole year of 2015. We're going to use the beginning of the fiscal year as our start date, and then we're going to click Next. So then QuickBooks presents a list of all of the recommended, everything with a check mark down here, are recommended accounts that it thinks we're going to need in our chart of accounts. So it's checked off everything it thinks that we're going to use. So it's a long, lengthy list. It has not chosen miscellaneous expense, and that's one that we think we might use. So we'll click on it. Notice that when we do, there's a check mark beside it, and then we click Next. So any others that we want, we click on. If there's one there that we don't want, we click on it again, and it would take the check mark off. So once we have them all set, then we click Next. And we've completed the Easy Step interview. So the main questions it needs to get us started are done, and now we can go to the Setup button. QuickBooks provides us now with a Setup button where we can input a few more things, such as our customer names, products, inventory items, bank accounts, that sort of thing. So we have a few more things that we want to add before we're done. So we're going to start with this top one, add the people you do business with. So we'll click on the Add button, and then you'll notice that we can choose one of 5 ways. We can import from Outlook, so if we have all of our contacts in Outlook, we can import them. If they're in Yahoo or Gmail, we can do that. We can paste from Excel, or we can enter manually, which is what we're going to do, because at the moment we're just going to enter one customer. So we're going to choose the last one and then click on Continue. The cell pointer is in the first box. We are creating a customer, so we're going to choose Customer, click into the box, and set up a customer account for yourself. So type your own information. You can type in a company name, create an email, a phone number, fax, make up an address, city, province and postal code are all in, city, province, and postal code are all in one text box separated by a comma. Okay, and then when you finish, your cell pointer will move down to the next row. You've got your record complete. You've clicked in customer so that you've told it you're creating a customer, and then you click on Continue. You could fill that whole table in if you had a whole bunch. We just wanted to do the one for now. And then you go to your next screen and it tells you that one contact is ready to be added. There's none that need to be fixed. This is a good screen to have when you're importing, because sometimes the fields don't always line up when you're importing, and so it's good to have a message for each of the ones that haven't come in properly, and then you can fix them or have QuickBooks fix them so that your contacts show properly within QuickBooks. So then let's just click on Continue. It takes us back to our company file, and so we can continue on by adding inventory items if we wanted to, and bank accounts. So we're going to add a bank account. We're going to leave inventory items for later on when we have some additional information to enter. So we're going to add a bank account. So in this case, we're going to fill out the bank account information, the account number, that kind of thing, the opening balance. So we're going to use Royal Bank of Canada. We can create a bank number. And we can put in an opening balance. Let's make our opening balance about $5,500. Okay, and so the opening balance date can be, because we set it up for the first of the fiscal year, right? So we'll do our balance as of the first of the fiscal year. And then we can click on continue. Okay, so now that we've added some account information, it says that we can be even more productive using QuickBooks. So it's still working. It's adding that bank account. It's asking us, do we want to order checks? No, I don't want to do that. So then I'll just click no thanks and continue. And we're back at the screen. We can click on our Start Working button because we've added everything we want to at this point. So we can start working. It tells us we're ready to start working. We can click on the X up in the Quick Start Center to close that out because we're finished using it. And now we're back at our home screen. Now we can begin to add some additional information, different inventory items and services in our inventory records. We can add more customers, that kind of thing. So there will be some additional inputting that you'll need to do for the rest of this particular exercise. But for now, that's all you need to know on how to start and create a new company using QuickBooks.